So now this is number 3, I think, on the back of the page, and the instructions say the same thing: divide the polynomials using the appropriate method and state whether each divisor is a factor. So the first part, divide the polynomials using the appropriate method. How do I find out the appropriate method? There's only 2 methods for dividing polynomials. It's either synthetic division or just regular long division. Every polynomial can be divided by long division. Synthetic division is just a simpler or easier way. It's an alternative method that some people prefer, okay? So we're gonna check, can we do synthetic division? Because we can't do synthetic division on every polynomial. First thing we check for is if our divisor, remember the dividend that is the thing that's getting divided, which in this case would be 3x cubed plus 2x squared minus 8x plus 20, is getting divided by our divisor, which is x plus 2. Now we have to check, is the divisor in x plus or minus k form? Now, x plus or minus k form, all that means is our x is to the first power, because x to the first power is just x, and its coefficient is 1, because 1 times x is just x. So this is the same thing as saying x, okay? This plus or minus, anytime you see a plus sign with a line underneath it, it means plus or minus. It means, are we doing addition or subtraction? Either one is fine. Then our k is just any whole number, okay? So let's check out our divisor in this case, which is x plus 2. Is it to the first power? Yes. Is its coefficient 1? Yes. Is it a plus or a minus? It's a plus, we're fine. Is it a whole number? Is the k a whole number? Yes, it's 2. All right, let's go ahead. We can start doing synthetic division, okay? To start synthetic division, we have to set up our box, okay? Now this is the second step. Set up synthetic division box. Okay. It kind of just looks like the upside down long division box, but it's just a little bit deeper, I guess. So the way we set that up is the first thing we do is find our 0 for our divisor. Find 0 for a divisor. All that means is you set it equal to 0. When you're finding a 0 of anything, you just set it equal to 0 and solve for the variable. So what's our divisor? X plus 2. We're going to set it to 0. We're going to solve for the variable. Our variable is x. So we're solving for x. How do we isolate x or get x alone? X plus 2. How do you get rid of plus 2? You subtract 2. So when I subtract 2 from both sides, because in algebra we have to keep things equal, we have to do what one side, we do to one side to the other side. We get x plus 2 minus 2, which just gets x plus 0, or just x by itself, equals 0 minus 2. What's 0 minus 2? Negative 2. So now we have x equals negative 2. We found our 0. We're going to put this right here. That's going to go outside on the top left, okay? Now we have to write coefficients of our dividend. So now we moved on to our dividend in box. Okay, so we're going to write it in here. The way we do that is we make sure that our dividend terms are in the appropriate order, or the correct order. So we start with our highest power. In this case, our highest power is x cubed. That needs to come first. If it's not first, you just go ahead and rearrange this and put it first, okay? So we have x cubed. After x cubed, we have to go to the next lower variable, which would be x squared. We have x squared plus 2x squared. Then what comes after x squared? X to the first power. We have x to the first power, which is minus 8x. And then after the first power of x comes the constant, which in this case would be plus 20. The reason I'm making a big deal about putting it in order and making sure that every variable after the highest variable follows in order is because sometimes it's not going to follow in order. Sometimes you're not going to have an x squared. It's just going to be 3x cubed plus 8x plus, or minus 8x plus 20. What happened to the x squared? It's not there. In that case, its coefficient would be 0. And let me tell you why that makes sense. If our dividend was just 3x cubed minus 8x plus 20, the coefficient for 8x squared, or for the x squared term, would be 0 because 3x cubed plus 0x squared minus 8x plus 20. Let's look at this. 0 times x squared. 0 times anything is what? 0. Instead of putting 0, you just don't have to put anything. It's gone. And that's why when it looks like, oh, they forgot or they didn't put an x or the next term, it just means its coefficient is 0, and you would put the coefficient as 0 inside the box, okay? But that's not the case for this dividend. It has all of its terms. So we're going to go ahead and start writing. Don't forget our signs. What is the first coefficient? 3. What's the second one? 2. Third one is negative 8 because we're doing minus 8x. And our constant also needs to be written inside, is 20. So this really should say right coefficients of our dividend in the box. It should be right coefficients and and constant. Okay, now this is where we just start bringing things down and multiplying. We're going to bring down our first term, 3, and we're going to multiply it outside of the box by right here, by this number right here, and we're going to do negative 2 times 3. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. Then we start adding 2 plus negative 6, or 2 minus 6 is negative 4. Now we start multiplying again. Negative 2 times negative 4 is equal to positive 8. We're going to add negative 8 plus 8, that just becomes 0. Then we're going to do negative 2 times 0, anything times 0 is 0. 20 plus 0 is now 20, okay? Now we have our answer. These are the coefficients for our answer. If you want to see any connections, like kind of between long division and synthetic division, one would be like everything for our divisor goes outside and everything for our dividend is inside the box. I don't know if that helps for y'all. Anyways, okay, now we're going to start writing our answer. These are the coefficients for our answer. We're going to start writing our variables one under the highest power of our dividend. So here we started at x cubed. Now it's going to be x squared. Our coefficient for x squared is going to be 3. 3x squared. Now after x squared comes x to the first power. So we have minus, because this is a negative 4, minus 4x to the first power, or just 4x. After that, what comes after our first power of x? Our constant. What's our constant? In this case, it's 0. We don't need to write that, okay? We don't need to write zeros. I could write plus 0, but we don't need it, okay? So I'm just going to leave it alone. Now, anything that comes after the constant, because this is our constant, is our remainder. This is our remainder. So this is a positive 20, so we're going to do plus 20, and we're going to put it over our divisor, x plus 2, just like how we would in long division. And that's it. Now our answer is 3x squared minus 4x plus 20 over x plus 2. We've done the first part. We've divided the polynomial using the appropriate method. The second part says, and state whether each divisor is a factor. Is there a remainder? Yes, our remainder is 20. If the remainder is anything other than 0, then it is not a factor. The divisor is not a factor, okay? Because we have this remainder of 20 over x plus 2, okay? So, no, it's not a factor, all right? That's it.